Hello YouTube. I usually do crime stories on this channel, but on this video I'm going to investigate a case that happened in October 15th, 1957. An abduction of a Brazilian farmer by extraterrestrials. This is an interesting story of Antônio Vilas-Boas and his encounter of the seventh kind. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Antônio Vilas-Boas was born in 1934 and he was 23 years old when this incident happened. It all started at midnight on October 5th, 1957. Boas was trying to sleep in his home and got up and decided to open a window to let a cool night breeze in to help him fall asleep. At the window, he saw an unusual bright light in the dark sky. At first, he thought he was looking at the planet Venus and went back to bed. He awoke moments later and saw the same light, but this time it was moving closer and getting brighter. Scared, he called his brother, and both saw in awe the light skimming back and forth before disappearing into the night sky. The next sighting was on October 15th at 10 p.m. Boas and his brothers were out tilling the fields at night to beat the heat when they both saw a bright light hovering 300 feet above their heads. It was moving slowly across the field, and Boas ran after it to investigate, and it started zooming back and forth until it just vanished in a flash. The next night, Boas was working alone in the field when a reddish light came right on top of him so quickly that he couldn't make up his mind on what to do. The light was so intense that he couldn't see his own tractor lights in the dead of night. The craft slowly descended and 3 landing gears came out under it as it softly touched the ground. It looked like a large elongated egg with a revolving dome on top. It had a tail fin and 2 protruding headlights that emitted bright red and green beams of light. Panicked, he got on his tractor to get away, but the engine died, so he tried running on foot and was quickly grabbed by an entity. Boas pushed him out of the way and continued running, but 3 more figures appeared and subdued him, and he couldn't escape. Boas described the beings as 5 feet tall, wearing full-body gray suits and a large helmet with round goggles, 3 tubes protruding out of their heads and connecting into the suits. They communicate with strange sounds not producible by humans, kind of like animalistic grunts and whines. Boas dragged up the craft by a rolling flexible ladder and forced into a small chamber where the beings carefully removed his clothing and rubbed a clear gel all over his nude body, possibly as a disinfectant. He was then led into a large circular room through a hatch that had strange red symbols written over it. In this room, the aliens proceeded to take blood samples under his chin by an instrument that produced a scar but was painless. Antonio was then escorted to a 3rd room with a bed where he was exposed to a gas which made him nauseous and left in isolation for at least an hour. Here it's when it gets crazy. After an hour in the 3rd room, the hatch opens and in walked in another alien unlike the other ones that captured Boas. She was a beautiful woman, fully nude with platinum blonde hair, large slanted blue eyes, no makeup, straight nose, narrow face, very thin lips, soft skin which felt like there was no bone. Boas said her body was much more beautiful than any I had ever seen before. It was slim and her breasts stood up high and well separated. She had a thin waistline and a flat belly. Her hips well developed and her thighs were large. She had small feet, long delicate hands, and her fingers and nails were normal. Boas also mentioned her pubic and armpit hair as being bright red. The woman came toward him in silence, looking at me all the while as if she wanted something from me. Pressing herself to him, he understood what her purpose was. I began to get excited, Boas stated. I ended up forgetting everything and held the woman close to me, with passion and desire. Apparently that they had 2 sexual encounters and performed a variety of sex acts together for about an hour. The woman did not kiss Boas but rather nibbled his chin as their form of kissing, and like the other, she spoke with barks and hisses. After the sex act, the woman pulled away to leave and smiled at Boas, rubbing her belly and gestured upwards. Boas took this to mean that she was going to raise their child in space. The female seemed relieved that their task was over. Boas became somewhat irritated by this. All they wanted was a good stallion to improve their stocks, Boas would say. He said that he enjoyed the encounter even if the woman refused to kiss. The woman was escorted away by the other male aliens. He was then given back his clothing, and the aliens were kind enough to take Boas on a tour of the ship. He was led back to a room with stools and a table, where the crew sat and communicated with each other in their strange way, ignoring him. He felt altogether calm, for I knew no harm would come to me. Boas was free to move around his ship, and he took a chance to take mental notes of his surroundings. He tried to remember all he could. He noticed that the walls were made of a smooth but firm metal with no windows anywhere. Antonio noticed a box with a glass top that had the appearance of an alarm clock. He attempted to conceal it as proof of his encounter. This angered the aliens, and they quickly retrieved the object from Antonio and shoved him back to his chair. Boas was then released from the UFO, and he quickly shot up in the sky. It was about 5:30 in the morning when Boas returned to his tractor. He estimated that 4.25 hours from the time he had been picked up, he discovered that the tractor had been tampered with, presumably during the struggle, meaning that his abductors were aware that he would try escaping, and he had knowledge of how a tractor works. The battery wires had been detached. For about 3 months after his encounter, Boas seemed to be suffering from radiation poisoning with symptoms of body pains, nausea, headaches, loss of appetite, excessive sleepiness, constant burning sensations in the eyes, cuts and lesions at the slightest of light, bruising which went on appearing for months that looked like small red bumps. Boas also suffered various mild medical ailments, a trait commonly found in UFO abduction cases. Boas didn't report his abduction right away for fear of being ridiculed, but when he was examined by doctors for his sickness, that is when he told his story. Boas' abduction account first came to light to the public in February 1958, and it wasn't until the early 1960s, after the famous 1961 UFO abduction of Betty and Barney Hill in the US, it received worldwide attention. Boas was able to recall every detail of his purported experience without the need for a hypnotic regression. After receiving worldwide attention and doing numerous interviews, Vilas-Boas, his wife, and children withdrew from public life. Boas quit farming and began studying law, receiving a law degree and becoming a practicing attorney in the city of Formosa, Goiás. He died on January 17, 1991, in the city of Ubera in Brazil's Triângulo Mineiro. Well, what do you think of Boas' far-fetched alien abduction? Did it really happen, or did he make it up? Please write your comments below, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you on another story.